Welcome, horror fans, to another bone-chilling episode of Real Talk Horror Edition, the podcast where we don't just watch horror films, we sink our teeth into them, dissecting every shadowy frame, every spine-chilling whisper, and every blood-curdling scream. I'm Josh Bell, your guide through the fog and shadows of today's movie reviews, here to take you on a journey through the unnerving corners of the genre we all love. Whether it's a haunting masterpiece that lingers long after the credits roll, or a film that makes you question why you turned off the lights in the first place, we're here to break down what makes a horror movie a chilling success, or a misfire that fades from memory. We delve into plot twists, character arcs, visuals that sear into your mind, soundscapes that tighten your chest, and themes that burrow into your psyche. Today, we're turning our attention to Sinister 2, the 2015 sequel to the original Sinister, a movie that had us all side-eyeing our old home videos and avoiding attic spaces for weeks. Does Sinister 2 bring fresh terror to the table, or does it simply echo the dread of its predecessor without quite matching its impact? We'll uncover how the follow-up stacks up in the chilling tale of Bughuul, the enigmatic being whose appetite for souls has returned for more. So, horror aficionados, grab your popcorn, dim those lights, maybe keep a nightlight on just in case, and let's plunge headfirst into the dark and twisted world of Sinister 2. You might just find that this sequel has a few surprises lurking in the shadows. Let's get into it. Tonight's deep dive is on Sinister 2, directed by Ciarán Foy, and released in 2015, a film that attempts to step into the massive, eerie shoes left by its predecessor. Picking up on the chilling mythos introduced in the original Sinister, this sequel continues the tale of Bughuul, the ancient, malevolent entity with a penchant for feeding on the souls of children and making his presence known through those cursed reels of found footage. In this sequel, we follow Courtney Collins, a mother fiercely protecting her twin sons Dylan and Zach, as they escape from an abusive husband and seek refuge in an isolated farmhouse. Unbeknownst to them, their new safe haven holds a haunted past that intertwines with Bughuul's dark legacy. As the story unfolds, we're drawn into a deadly cat-and-mouse game where survival isn't just a matter of avoiding a spirit. It's about resisting a force that compels children to do the unthinkable. So let's begin to peel back the layers of Sinister 2's plot. The film picks up the narrative thread left dangling by the original, weaving in more details about Bughuul's MO and the tragic, ghostly children trapped under his thrall. One standout strength is how the movie delves into Bughuul's mythos, giving us chilly glimpses into his rituals and expanding on the folklore that terrified us in the first film. We get more insight into how Bughuul's influence spreads, adding the sinister depth that those of us who appreciated the original will really enjoy. However, while the film does bring fresh elements to the table, it doesn't quite recapture the original's razor-sharp, claustrophobic storytelling that made every creak of a floorboard feel like a harbinger of doom. Where Sinister kept us holding our breath with an ever-tightening grip, the sequel at times struggles with pacing, flipping between moments of nail-biting tension and sequences that meander and lose our focus. Though one thing Sinister 2 does well is infuses its plot with layers of family drama. Courtney's plight as a mother protecting her children from both an abusive ex and a supernatural predator gives the story emotional stakes that go beyond the jump scares. It's a narrative choice that resonates, showing us that the horror isn't just in what lurks in the dark, but also in the real-world fears and traumas that we try to outrun. This added layer of humanity gives the film a beating heart, even if it does at times struggle to maintain the pulse-pounding tension throughout. Now, the performances in Sinister 2 are pretty good. First off, one of my favorite underrated actresses, Shannyn Sossamon, steps into the role of Courtney Collins, a mother whose fierce determination to protect her sons fuels much of this film's emotional core. Sossamon does an expert job of capturing Courtney's blend of maternal love, anxiety, and sheer desperation, making her a character that is easy to root for. You can feel the weight of her past in every wary glance and hurried step, adding layers to a role that could have easily fallen flat. James Ranson returns as the former Deputy So-and-so, now a private investigator, obsessed with uncovering the dark truth of Bughuul's twisted legacy. Ranson's portrayal is infused with an earnestness and a paranoia. He provides a relatable human anchor in a story that is teeming with supernatural horror. His character's relentless drive and palpable fear contrast well with the film's more otherworldly elements here, grounding the movie in a more personal, almost tragic quest for justice. But the real standouts of Sinister 2 are the twins, Dylan and Zach, played by Robert and D'Artagnan Sloan. Their performances are riveting, capturing this fragility, tension, and inner turmoil of children caught in a nightmarish tug-of-war between innocence and darkness. The dynamic between the brothers, with Dylan's sensitivity and Zach's conflicted nature, adds a complexity to their roles, pulling us deeper into Bughuul's malevolent orbit. However, where the film falters is character development. While Courtney's struggle is compelling and the twins are well portrayed, some of the secondary characters feel thinly sketched. Their motivations and backstories are glossed over, which diminishes the emotional impact when their fates are sealed. This lack of depth means that some moments fall short of the resonance they could have achieved, leaving us wishing for a stronger connection to the broader cast. Let's unpack the themes and symbolism that are woven into Sinister 2. One of the film's most striking elements is its exploration of familial bonds and trauma. It ventures into the real-world horrors of domestic abuse, depicting the lengths that a parent will go to shield their children from harm. This theme adds a raw, emotional texture to the supernatural horror. Courtney's determination to break free from her violent past and create a safe haven for her boys mirrors the psychological imprisonment Bughuul imposes on his child victims. The stakes aren't just supernatural. They're rooted in the all-too-relatable fear of failing to protect those you love. Bughuul's control over the children can be interpreted as a metaphor for the inescapable nature of trauma and the dark forces that latch on to vulnerability. The eerie home videos and the ghostly children who lure others into Bughuul's trap symbolize the sinister allure of unresolved trauma and how it perpetuates cycles of pain. This metaphor adds an unnerving psychological layer to the narrative, suggesting that the past has a way of resurfacing, especially when we least expect it. Yet while the film reaches for this depth, it doesn't always land with full impact. The themes of trauma and psychological manipulation are powerful, but at times underdeveloped. The story flirts with these ideas without fully committing, leaving some thematic threads dangling where a more focused approach could have elevated the emotional resonance. Even so, Sinister 2 deserves credit for attempting to infuse its horror with real-world fears, blending the supernatural dread with the horrors that lie in the hearts of humans. Now, when it comes to Sinister 2, this film really knows how to set the mood. Cinematographer Amy Vincent expertly utilizes dim, blue-tinted lighting that saturates each frame, creating a chilling and claustrophobic atmosphere that enhances the story's underlying tension. This palette of cold tones evokes a sense of isolation and foreboding, making us feel the oppressive weight of the supernatural threat lurking in the shadows. The night scenes in particular are steeped in dread, with strategic lighting that teases what might be hiding just out of sight, keeping our nerves perpetually on edge. One of the signature aspects that fans of the franchise will appreciate in the return of Bughuul's infamous homemade films. Grainy, brutal, utterly macabre, these sequences are a visual gut punch. Each film is a twisted tableau that encapsulates Bughuul's horrifying influences. Pushing the limits of what's shown and implied, the way these segments are shot with a mix of retro aesthetics and raw cinematography reinforces their unsettling, almost cursed nature. It's these moments that visually remind us why Bughuul remains a standout in modern horror. Now for the auditory elements of Sinister 2. The sound design here does not disappoint. It's crafted with one purpose: to unnerve and unbalance. From the slightest creak in the floorboards to the haunting whispers that seem to come from nowhere, every sound has purpose: to keep you looking over your shoulder. The layers of subtle ambient noises blending seamlessly with sudden jolts of sound that accentuate the scares, creating an atmosphere where silence is as terrifying as the noise that it breaks. Complementing this is the haunting score, which infuses the film with an unsettling, otherworldly tone. The music ebbs and flows, building a backdrop of anxiety and spikes during Bughuul's most sinister moments. While it doesn't quite reach the nerve-wracking, skin-crawling intensity of the original film, particularly those moments orchestrated by Chris Young's standout score, it still effectively pulls us deeper into the story. The sound and music together ensure that Sinister 2 maintains an auditory grip that refuses to let go. Pacing can make or break a horror movie, and for Sinister 2, this is where things get tricky. The film has moments that are thick with palpable tension, keeping us glued to our seats. However, between these high points, the story struggles with maintaining momentum. The quieter, exposition-heavy scenes tend to stretch a bit too long, causing the narrative to sag and slowing down the forward drive. It's a case of fluctuating energy, moments of suspense followed by slower scenes that don't always justify their duration. On the other hand, the editing in key sequences involving Bughuul's homemade films is sharp and effective. These segments are where the film's editing shines, creating a jarring, fragmented effect that makes the viewer feel like they're piecing together a nightmare. Quick cuts, disorienting shifts in perspective, and abrupt endings to these snuff-like reels contribute to the sense of unease. However, outside of these standout moments, the editing here doesn't always stitch the main plot together smoothly. At times, it feels as if the transitions between scenes lack the seamless flow needed to keep the tension consistently high. This inconsistency means that while the film delivers strong scares and bursts, the overall pacing leaves room for improvement. Let's take a look at the scare factor in Sinister 2. This sequel pivots more towards sudden jump scares and unsettling imagery, making it a departure from the slow burn psychological tension that defined the original. While it does deliver some genuinely nerve-jangling moments, the emphasis on startling the audience with sudden shocks rather than building a creeping sense of dread may not resonate as well with fans who enjoyed that subtle, ever-mounting fear of the first Sinister. However, for those who prefer a more immediate jolt, these scenes do the trick, and they do it with precision. The gore in Sinister 2 is used sparingly, but with calculated impact. Instead of drowning in blood and guts, the film opts for well-timed visuals that strike a balance between what's shown and what's implied, maintaining a level of restraint that enhances the overall atmosphere. The brutality showcased in Bughuul's infamous home videos is perhaps the most disturbing aspect, portraying violence in a grainy, voyeuristic manner that will stick with you long after the film ends. It's effective without dipping into excess, keeping the horror unsettling and unsettlingly real. So what's the final verdict on Sinister 2? While it doesn't quite reach the skin-crawling heights of its predecessor, it still holds its own as a respectable entry in the horror genre. The film builds on the original's lore, providing more context and expanding the mythology of Bughuul in intriguing ways. Its visuals are chilling, the sound design sharp, and the performances, especially from Shannyn Sossamon and the young actors, add depth to an otherwise a little bit uneven script. However, the movie's reliance on jump scares over atmospheric tension and its pacing issues prevent it from being truly memorable. Despite these drawbacks, Sinister 2 remains a worthy watch for horror enthusiasts who appreciate supernatural storytelling with a dash of family drama. I'd rate it a solid 6 out of 10, a follow-up that manages to stand on its own, even if it doesn't quite capture the terror of the original. But what about you? Did Sinister 2 have you double-checking the locks on your doors, or did it leave you unimpressed? We'd love to hear your take. Share your thoughts by sending us an email at therealrealtalk@gmail.com or join the conversation on Instagram and Threads at RealRealTalk. Let us know if the sequel lived up to its eerie expectations or if it left you wishing for more chills. And don't forget, if you enjoyed this episode, hit that follow button and stay tuned for more deep dives into the best and the blood-curdling horror of cinema. Remember to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you get your podcast. Keep those lights low and the scares high. Oh, and horror fans, don't go too far. On our next episode, we're taking it back to the 80s to dig into a cult classic and one of my go-to horror films, The Gate. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Until next time, stay creepy.